Welcome back, everybody. I want to start with something light. If you could only consume one holiday cookie for the rest of your life, what type of cookie is it?
That's a huge question.
I know, and that's why
That's
it's
the hardest
hard, because
question
I'm
you
making.
posed.
I know. One cookie.
You know what I love is there is this brown butter toffee cookie where so cookies, it's flour and butter mostly. That's most of the ingredients, but the butter is browned first, so it has this really like kind of nutty, deep caramelly flavor. And then the recipe uses those little chocolate discs instead of chips. So you end up with like a layer of like, especially if you eat them warm, like a gold mine of melted chocolate in the middle. So I would say that with a good, enough salt so that it has that kind of depth of sweetness and savory flavor.
Wow. Sounds yummy. Rich, what do you think? You got an answer?
It's hard to choose one of two. There are two, and it's hard to choose one, but I'll pick one. Every year, my mother bakes tons of holiday cookies. She lives down in South Carolina, and she mails them out to family and friends. And then we get a nice big box of all kinds of different sugar cookies decorated in fun ways. And there are the other two that are in there as well that she always makes sure that we get some. She makes like a bourbon ball, right? It's just this little balled up piece of nuts and dough, and like I can't even describe it. It's dense. It's got some kick to it because she soaks them a bit in some whiskey. And they're dusted in powdered sugar. And they just, you get a bag, like a gallon bag full of them. And the thing I love about it is, one, they're just, you pop it in and it's a joyful explosion in your mouth. As long as you can, you're good with nuts and stuff and a cookie like that. They also last a really long time. Like I have been known to hoard these things in an extra bag, and like a month later, I'm still pulling them out, and my wife's like, "We still have some of those?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're still good." I'm like, "Yeah, to me, I'm gonna eat them." And all these other, the sugar cookies, my other favorite one, molasses cookies, whatever. They dry out, they get hard, and you're just done. And these things, like, they don't really go stale. They're just delicious. But they only come out at the holidays. That's what makes them my favorite holiday cookie. Jim, you got one in mind?
Easy answer for me.
Easy.
Easiest answer. My mother's Hershey's Kiss cookies, which is a peanut buttery, sugary cookie with a Hershey's Kiss pressed into the top. My sister can replicate them perfectly. My sister makes amazing cookies too. And tomorrow, my sister and my mom will get together in a kitchen and make hundreds and hundreds, if not a couple thousand cookies, because they do very similar things, Rich, it sounds like, to your mom. And many of the things they make are great. But if I had to pick one, it's obvious. It's Hershey Kiss cookies. To segue this into a tiny little work topic, I was talking to a client a couple weeks ago on the week of Black Friday, right? So late November 2025. We were just kind of talking about what we were doing. We both had interesting weekends plans. I was going to Ann Arbor, Michigan to watch the Ohio State-Michigan game. And he said, I'm going to my in-laws' house to make over 800 dozen cookies. And it's a family thing. They made 12,000 cookies last year. And I'm like, I can't even imagine the systems and the tools and the people that it would take to do that. And he told me all about it. It was super interesting. And one of the things that I found was, think about it. You have a lot of people. There's over 40 people involved getting together, enjoying, imbibing, relating. But he's like, I know what my lane is. I stay in my lane. I've been told we don't, this isn't the time for ideas. Don't optimize our process while we're cranking out 12,000. He learned that years in the past when he was not even married into this family. And he's like, I have some ideas. And they're like, yeah, we'll tell you where to shove your ideas right now. And I think it was funny because there's a time and a place to optimize a process. It's normally not when there's 6 ovens going and 40 people milling around in a tight, constrained place. At the holidays, here's the question. At the holidays, do you see analogies to what we do? Or do you just try and really disconnect and turn that part of your brain off?
I will stay and say that I see analogies to what we do constantly. And on the process side of things, I could, just like the cookie factory that's going on. And yet that's not how I run the holidays around here. Our process for holidays, everyone just chill out. Like there's no dinner's not going to be served at 2. There isn't a hard timeline to any of these things. Like, we're going to probably eat 6, 7:30, something like that. Just show up at 5 and grab a bourbon ball, but not too many. And have a drink, whatever, and chill, because that's what we're here for. So the side that I see more analogous is the way that we interact with people, and talk with them, establishing relationships, getting curious, asking them more about what's going on, looking for connections inside of a gathering too. Like, is there somebody that's hanging out quiet? What's going on for them? What might they need? And it's not, hey, let me introduce you to somebody. It's like, do you need a space to, be calm for a little bit, pull yourself together? Is there anything I can do? Right. And so I try to lean into some of those aspects of understanding, like, I've just gathered a bunch of people together, just like we do in organizations every day. And they all have different needs, and they're all here to have a good time and contribute to that good time. So how do I try to pay attention to that gathering of people and recognize that whatever the plan could be to have fun is not what is in everyone's mind, right? So I got to go discover that, help them with that too.
Heather, how about you?
I very much agree with what you just said, Rich. I think that when I think about the holidays, it reminds me of their sort of natural cycles of life, and that there are periods where you really need, to put it in kind of a parlance of working systems, where a system needs to have slack to be able to perform at other moments. And I think that a lot of times in organizations, people will get so focused on productivity and what are the KPIs like, and are we pushing the metrics, and how are we performing, that they sort of forget that these moments where you really are just present and where you're letting things come as they come, and you don't necessarily have an agenda, but your idea is just to listen and to sort of like improvise and talk and connect with people. Sometimes great ideas come out of those sorts of environments. That's why the retrospective is one of my favorite things in Agile, because a lot of times you can do some lateral thinking. You could do something that feels totally foreign from this idea of like, yeah, but push, we have to deliver. But then you come up with totally new creative ideas, and also people get a sense of being grounded and connected to each other and engaged, and this sense of satisfaction that arises from taking those slack times rather than just focusing on, I need to hit my numbers every day.
Something Rich said reminded me of a story or an experience, which is I have a couple good friends that live nearby. My friend's wife, Mitzi, is one of my closest friends. We talk all the time. And when I lived very nearby, we invited them over quite a bit for just normal dinners, but also holiday dinners. And I learned very quickly, the hard way, that Mitzi was a very specific person when it came to what time are we going to eat. Because like me, she can become hangry when blood sugar drops. And if I say, yeah, come over, like anytime afternoon, like we're going to have a late lunch. Well, if I said, come over at noon, she expects to eat about 12:15. I expect to the food won't be cold. Like I will have started, but we're probably not going to eat till 2. And one particular time, it was actually just not a big holiday. It was a cookout, but it kind of bubbled up. And I'm like, okay, I adapted the very next week. We are going to eat about 3 p.m. You are welcome to come anytime after 11, and there will be snacks out. Like you can graze, because I'm kind of I'm inviting you over for something larger, not just a meal. It used to, it doesn't anymore. It used to kind of make me feel like I'm a restaurant where you have expectations. So anyway, I think it just comes back to expectation setting. But I agree with everything you all are saying. And I think this is a great time of year and to practice something that I firmly believe in, to the fact it's written on a Post-it in front of me, which is a long time ago, someone asked me, how are you so interesting? And I go, I don't think I'm interesting. I think you're confusing me being interesting for me being interested. And at the holidays, what I love about the holidays is I normally get to meet new people, interact with new people, or even old people that I haven't seen for a while. And I try my best to be genuinely interested in things, because almost every single time I find something I didn't know. Like my cousin's husband, who I interacted with in October, we have a very common shared hobby that I had no idea. I've known him for, 12 years. I didn't know, like, you're into that whole crap. I'm into that. And before you know it, like, we're talking shop, we're in the garage, we're looking at stuff. I'm not interesting. I'm just genuinely interested in other people. And I think the holidays is just a great time to practice that. And one of the things that if I ever hit the lottery or don't have to worry about money, the app that I want to build or the service or the product, I don't even know how to do it, is a way for Heather and Rich and I to all share all the things that we get value from, enjoy doing, and find you have 9 overlaps. Wait, Heather, you're into Lego? I'm into Lego. Because, that's the missing link of interaction. And Rich and I were talking the other day about remote co-location. And that's the type of thing that in some ways is easier to figure out when you're physically working with someone. In other respects, it can be easier remotely, but it just normally requires a little more effort. Like I'm sitting in front of a bunch of hobbies that are triggers to be like, whoa, tell me about that. If you see me in a cubicle farm inside a big skyscraper, you don't have any of that contact. So in one way, that's a benefit, but also the kind of surface and transitive nature of relationships for remote teams are just different. So sum it up, if you want to ever be interesting, first be interested.
Well, Jim, thanks for being interested in our holiday treats and making me want to go and see if that there's a box of cookies that comes in the mail today.
Yeah, perfect. I want some cookies.
Me too. You both made me hungry. And just like your bourbon balls, Rich, I'll never forget when I was like 16, my sister's like, where are you getting those? Like, how are you eating a Christmas cookie in July? I go, I found a stash in the deep freeze. It's like, we forgot it's mom's cookies. It was literally like for a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, like hitting a little scratch off lottery ticket of finding a metal tin of mom's Christmas cookies in the middle of the summer. So simple pleasures in life. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your holiday cookies. Sorry for making you hungry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rich Visotsky. Join Jim Sammons and I for our 12 days of holiday-themed conversations. Subscribe now and tune back in for tomorrow's episode.